Hi everyone, my name is Bria Javelle and I studied abroad in South Korea for the 2025 spring term. So I just got back like about a month ago. Yeah, it was a month, like 2 days ago. So I'm gonna be talking to you guys about that today. You're probably wondering, why Korea? To be honest, my super honest answer is, I don't know. I truly didn't have like a answer. Sorry, I'm gonna be looking off to the screen because I don't want to go off on too many tangents. So I have like a list of things that I have to talk about in the video today. But anyways, why Korea? To be honest, I really didn't have like I want to go to Korea. This is it. This is the place I need to go to. Like this. I didn't have that experience really. I had Korean friends in my previous home university. So I was like, I could go to Korea. So I just went. And that is crazy to say. I know that is crazy to say and really crazy to even say out loud, but that's kind of just like what ended up happening. I was like, I want to go to Korea. The best way to go and the cheapest way to go is to study abroad there. And I'm still young, so it'd be perfect for me to just go. And so I went. First off, I'm going to talk about the academics. So the university experience was great for me. Honestly, I loved going to school in Korea. The way that it's different is like, so here in Texas, like my classes have like assignments every week. There's something to do like almost every day. If you're not doing something, like there's always going to be something that is due at the end of a week or at the end of like of some time, you know. And then we have like midterms and we have quizzes and we have final exams and we have presentations and we have all these things. We have exams. I mean, sorry, not exams, essays. We have so many like assignments. And when you go to Korea, literally the only thing that is on like that's for your grade is like midterm, a final exam, and maybe a presentation and your attendance. That's it. Like there's 4 things. So if you miss a midterm or if you miss a final exam or you fail them, you're kind of cooked. Yeah, like you're cooked if you don't pass one of those things or if you miss one of those things, because there's nothing, there's no assignments. You just show up to class, you listen to the lecture, you take notes or you don't take notes, whatever, and you take a test. That's literally it. That's like the biggest difference that I thought that was crazy. I was like, so where's the homework? Where's the assignments? There's none of that. You just go to class, you listen to the lecture, and then you take your midterm, your final exam, and maybe you'll have an essay. I didn't have any essays personally, but I know my roommate in Korea did have essays to write. And our presentations, I did have 2 presentations in separate classes that I had to do, so you'll have that. Professors and classmates, I had wonderful professors. All my professors were really sweet. I will say that one of my professors didn't speak English that well, so it was low-key hard for me to understand what was going on, but I passed the class with an A, so hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. Classmates, I will say this is gonna be really straightforward and really honest, but I feel like a lot of the European students were really rude. I'm sorry, but like they would just talk so much during class, and I'm just like, are we in class or are we at lunch? Like, I don't know, you know? And so in my mind, I've never been to Europe before, so I asked like some European friends. I was like, hey, like I don't know what the culture is like in Europe, but is the culture to talk while the professor's talking? And they would be like, no, that's not the culture. So I'd just be like, so what's going on? Like, I don't know. That was just always bothering me. But other than that, like everything was fine. It wasn't that big of a deal. To be honest, I didn't really study that much in Korea. Like I only studied when I had to do a midterm or a final exam. It's the only time I like actually went to the library and studied, because like I had to like brush up on the stuff that I would learn and then I would be fine. I didn't fail anything. So that just, I guess that really just tells you what to do as far as studying tips, and I'm gonna move on. Campus life, oh my gosh. So I love the campus that I went to so much. Like it was amazing. I was in choir in South Korea, and I was in a dance club in South Korea, and I was in another club kind of thing. It was called Breeze. It was like where international students and Korean students come together and like do different activities and stuff. To be honest, I didn't really do much of anything in that club. They had orientation. I went to the orientation and I didn't do anything else. Not because I didn't want to, but every time they just have stuff, I would always be busy. Like somehow I was just always so busy in South Korea, but I was. But anyways, I was in choir there, and that was like the best choice I've ever made in my life. It was all in Korean. The music was in Korean. They did have a few English songs or Spanish and Latin songs here and there, but it was 90% Korean, which was so helpful because I was learning Korean while I was there. So singing in Korean, and the professor and director only spoke in Korean. So it was, in the pianist was obviously Korean. So like everything was in Korean, but that did not bother me. Honestly, that motivated me more and more to study more of my Korean, and I was learning more Korean being around that vibe. And I was in a dance group. It was called, what was it called? It's called Flavor, and it was literally so cool. Like, Koreans are so talented, and it was so fun to just, and it was also only in Korean. And you might be thinking, like, how did you survive that? It's honestly so much, when you have good teachers, it's so easy to understand. Like, I was able to dance and learn perfectly fine. I was able to sing and learn perfectly fine. Like, it was such a good time, and I really miss everyone from my choir team so much. Other international students, I hung out with a few international students. Like, I had a lot of international friends, which is really good to have. I had like German friends, Finland friends, what else? Just a lot of mixture of people, like Malaysian friends. Like, I've had a lot of different kinds of friends from all over the world, Vietnamese friends, Japanese friends, and it's like the best experience to have. And I'm gonna get more into that, but it's the best. Next, I'm gonna talk about housing. Oh, I'm so sorry, I don't know why I did that. That was so cringy. I lived in a dorm the entire time I was there. I will say, I'm gonna give you the pros and cons. Living in a dorm, pros. It was great because it was on campus, it was easy, there was no commute. I just had to walk to class, and that was easy. My dorm was probably like maybe 12 to 13 stories high, I'm not sure exactly. It was really big building, so many students in that building. And it was organized by sex, so like the boys would have the odd numbers and the girls would have the even numbers, stuff like that. And you couldn't go on their side and they can't go on our side, kind of thing. And but we all lived in one huge building, if that makes sense. Sorry if I'm not making sense. And they had a GS25 which is like a convenience store. They had a convenience store in the dorm, which was so convenient, and a cafeteria and a gym. You did have to pay for the gym separately from the dorm cost, but the dorm cost was only like $1,000. And which, if you go to college in the United States, you know that is so cheap, because my dorm when I used to live in a dorm back in the day, like last year, it was like $3,000. It was $3,000. So that is a lot of money. To be honest, you don't have meal plans. I didn't have a meal plan in Korea. So because of that, I was spending money on breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which is fine. Eating in Korea is really cheap. Like, I was fine doing that. So I went out to eat every day. I ate, like, usually breakfast, I would get something from a convenience store, like yogurt or something small like that, because usually in the morning I was on go to get to class anyway, so I just needed something quick. And then for lunch, I would just go out, or I would go with my friends. So yeah, a lot of the times, like, I had a class group that we would go to lunch every time we had class afterwards. We'd go to lunch together. So that was really fun. And that's how you really get to know people and like become really good friends with people. And for dinner, I would always eat out. Actually, that's not true. Sometimes I would eat ramen. I was gonna say I never ate in, but sometimes I would eat ramen. But most of the time I ate out because it's so cheap. Like, basically, like, a meal of eating in the cafeteria is the same amount as like a meal anywhere else, so I might as well just go somewhere else instead of eating nasty cafeteria food. The cafeteria food was okay. It wasn't the best, it wasn't the worst. It's hit or miss with them. Some stuff can be like really, really good, and some stuff can be like disgusting. Not disgusting, I'm being dramatic, but you guys get it. Roommate experience. So my roommate was American, so that worked perfectly with me because we were obviously able to communicate with each other, because my biggest fear was I was going to move into the dorms and I was going to get someone who doesn't speak English at all, and then that would be really hard, obviously, or someone who has different culture than I do, which is fine. I would have been fine. I love learning new cultures and meeting new people and mixing anyway. I got an American roommate and we were besties. We were besties when we first moved in together. Eventually, she got a boyfriend and stopped hanging out with me. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But anyways, no hard feelings, love her. We were good friends the entire time. We went to Jeju together. Like, it was great. My roommate was amazing, and we split like getting things like toilet paper and cleaning supplies and everything. So my roommate experience was 10 out of 10, no complaints. So some daily life, what a typical week looked like for me in Korea. Honestly, I went to class and I had choir and I went to church, and yeah, at the beginning of my time, I did not do that. Like the first week, honestly, we didn't have school the first week I came. It didn't start until like March, the beginning of March, and I got there at February 20th something, 28th, something like that. It didn't start until March something. So I had like a little bit over a week to like get my life together, get my stuff together and get everything together. And then school started and I was going to Hongdae every week. Actually, the second night of Korea, I went to Hongdae. Guys, don't judge me, okay? Don't judge me. But I eventually stopped doing that. So after a while, my typical week was just like school, choir, church. And occasionally I would go out, I'd go shopping, of course, stuff like that. Transportation is literally the best in Korea, I think. Like buses, another club, I'm just kidding. Buses, the freaking subway system is amazing. Literally, like, it's so easy to get anywhere. Naver is usually the app that you would use to navigate around Korea, not Google Maps, it doesn't work. But Naver, I literally, like, by the end of the time, I lived there for about 6 months. By the end of my time in Korea, my Naver map was in Korean. That's how, like, good I got at getting around and learning and everything, because it's also so easy. Like, I think I only needed one day. I needed 1 day to figure out everything. That's all I needed. And after that 1 day, when my friend taught me how to use Naver, I went everywhere by myself. It was so easy. And plus, the area where my school was at, everything was walking distance. Food, grocery stores, fruits, Daiso, everything was so close. And if I wanted to take a bus, I could. And it was just so easy to get around. The one thing that I don't hate, but it was kind of inconvenient sometimes. On the buses, you can't have drinks. So sometimes I would like go to the coffee shop and then I don't want to like walk all the way to the dorm because it was on top of a hill. I just want to take a bus and get up there, and they'd be like, no. Because I would have a drink in my hand and they'd be like, you can't have drinks on the bus, which is not that serious, but listening to time difference and local routines. Okay, the time difference for me, I was getting up every day at around like 5 a.m. for the first week. Yeah, that was a lot for me. The time difference, even when I came back from Korea, I was getting up every day at around like 4 or 5 a.m. It took me like 2 weeks to adjust to time zones, and when I got there, it took me about 2 weeks to adjust as well. It took me a long time. The difference is 14 hours, and they're ahead of us. So I don't know why it took me so long. My body just really could not adjust to that 14-hour difference. My body was like, no, girl, no. You need to relax. So yeah, I did relax, but it took me a lot to adjust to the time difference. I don't know why. So cultural experiences, to be honest, my first impressions of the culture, I went into Korea not knowing too much. Like, I studied a little bit of Korean before I left. I did a lot of research on like how to get around and things like that. But I did a lot of research about my school mostly. I didn't do a lot of research about Korea itself because I planned on staying at my university the most, and I did. 90% of the time of my Korea experience, I was at school or doing something school related. So I only looked at school stuff and not stuff outside of school. Like, I didn't even know about Hongdae until I got to Korea. That's like kind of how that went. And they were like, Hongdae, like I got there, I was like, Hongdae, like what's Hongdae? And like, we're gonna go clubbing in Hongdae, and I'm like, we're going clubbing in Hongdae, what's Hongdae? And like, anyway, so I wasn't really sure about that. I'm sorry if you hear my air conditioning, it might be really loud, but anywho, the club culture is something different. They smoke in the clubs, there's spit everywhere, it's kind of nasty, not great. That I personally, before Korea, I have been to a club before in New Orleans, but it wasn't like a club, it's just different vibes, and I was with my family. So now that I was able to go out with my friends and stuff, obviously it's gonna be different. And I don't know, that was kind of a culture shock for me, the clubbing scene, like people grabbing you, people touching my face, and like people like on the outside, they're like, come in our club, like free cocktails, free shots, free drinks, free. And I'm like, whoa, like what's going on? That was the biggest culture shock I've ever experienced. And I've never been just like unprovokedly touched, I think, by strangers at least. Actually, that's not true. But the most I got it was from in Korea, of course. So like I would go to a club and like these Korean guys would like touch my face and touch my hair and just touch me, and I'm like, whoa. Yeah, it was kind of a lot. And at first I didn't really think anything of it. I was like, they're curious. I look how I look, I understand. But after a while I was like, okay, this is getting a little uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable. I mean, it made me uncomfortable at the beginning too, but I was just like, oh guys. Guys. Anyways, yes, big culture shock, that. Some challenges I faced while being in Korea. To be honest, I was sick a lot. My health wasn't the worst of it when I was in Korea. I was sick from, if I had to give it a percentage, maybe like 85% of my entire stay, I was some sort of sick. When I first got there, I got tendinitis and I had to get physical therapy 3 times because I was walking a lot. I've never walked that much in my life. So I was walking everywhere. I didn't, because especially the first like few days or the first week and a half, I only walked because I was too scared to take the buses by myself. So I only walked everywhere, and I was walking like miles on miles, like every day. And then, so I got tendinitis and I was limping. I was literally limping everywhere. I was like limping to get to class, limping to get anywhere. And so I had to go to the hospital. I was like, my leg is, I'm dying. And so yeah, they told me I had tendinitis and I got physical therapy. And after the physical therapy, my leg was perfect. I didn't have any more problems after the physical therapy. Also, it was really cheap. Healthcare in Korea is really good. And then I got really sick. The air quality in Korea is really bad. Like, it's terrible. It's terrible. So I got really sick all the time. I was always sick. Like, I was always sneezing, coughing, always. I couldn't sing. I lost my voice, which makes me really sad because I'm a singer. So I really wanted to sing so bad, and I was just always getting sick, and I would always lose my voice. And I couldn't sing, obviously. So that happened to me a lot. Eventually, I invested in vitamins, and I got some, oh my gosh, sorry. I got some Korean vitamins, and I started taking those every day, and that did help. So that, I will say, if you have a weak immune system like I do, I even get sick a lot just in America. So being in Korea, I was literally sick the entire time. So I would say if you're like that, if you're like me, invest in some Korean vitamins. American vitamins are good too, but the Korean vitamins I think are better. Learning or using the local language. So I was in a Korean class and I had Korean friends and I was in all these Korean clubs. So honestly, the best way to learn a language is just exposing yourself into the culture. Like, at some point, I was forced to speak Korean because people only speak Korean. They're in Korea, of course, they're only gonna speak Korean. That just is logical. So I have to learn. Like, I had to order my own food or just trying to ask questions to somebody. I have to know Korean. And like, if people want to ever talk to me, I don't want to have it be like, you can't talk to me, I don't speak Korean, don't talk to me, you know? I want to be able to speak to them in their language. And like, I really felt bad sometimes because I was in a commercial for my school and I didn't speak Korean at all, like not a lick. And I felt so bad because I was like, I wish I knew how to speak more Korean. And I felt bad, and so I gave everyone little notes and I was like, I'm sorry, I don't speak Korean, like I feel so bad. And this is my fault because this is your country. I should know how to speak something and I don't. So I felt really bad about that, but the best way to learn is to just immerse yourself in the culture. The food, honestly, was great. Food is great. I love Korean food. I have no notes. Travel and exploration. So I did travel quite a bit when I was in Korea. In Korea, I went to Busan and I went to Jeju, and I went to Jeju for a little bit with my roommate. It was really rainy when we went, but it was honestly still gorgeous and beautiful. I got really sick in Jeju and I couldn't eat that much, and I got like a stomach bug or something while I was there. So, but I still had a great time nevertheless. When I went to Busan was the best week of my life. I went by myself actually, and I went to the beach every day, and it's really safe in Korea. I never felt unsafe in Korea. I went to some like tours, like touristy. I did some touristy things there by myself. It was amazing. I met some really sweet Korean Americans while I was doing the touristy stuff, and I loved every second of being in Busan. The food was amazing. Like, if I would live anywhere in Korea, it would not be Seoul, it would be Busan. The vibes there are so much better. It's less crowded. There's like a beach. Like, hello, it was amazing. It was amazing. It was amazing, amazing, amazing. 10 out of 10 would recommend go to Busan. I went to Taiwan for a week as well. It was amazing. It was amazing. I loved Taiwan. It was really hot, really humid. Really hot, really humid. I will warn you that. But I met up with I have a Taiwanese friend there. I met up with him and he was so sweet, and the food there was pretty good. It wasn't the best, but it was pretty good. Honestly, the Taiwanese people made me feel like a celebrity. They would like they would try to take pictures with me, and I loved every second of that. I was eating that up. And they were just, it was great. I had a really good time in Taiwan, and I got 2 massages while I was there, and highly recommend getting you some massages while you're in Taiwan. Best. I had such a good time. I did some touristy things there. It's gorgeous in Taiwan. Gorgeous. I also went to Japan. That was the last thing I did before I came back to America. I went to Japan with 2 friends, a Japanese friend and a Korean friend, and that was really fun. I was in Chiba at first, and then we went to Tokyo, and it was great. It was great. When you go with the right people, it's amazing. I had the best time of my life in Japan. Like, it was so good. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend going to Tokyo. Not because I didn't like Tokyo. I love Tokyo. It was great. I went shopping. I saw cute little pigs. It was a good time. I just think that it's really crowded. If you like a crowded vibe, go for it. Do it. Tokyo's amazing. I'm not talking down on Tokyo. It's great. But I love more of a chill beach vibe. So if you love a chill beach vibe, Tokyo is not where you want to go. That's the last place you want to go. When we were in Chiba, which is where my friend was from, we went to like this beautiful like seafood place. It had like this beautiful like ocean, and it was just, it was so nice. It was gorgeous and beautiful, and that's my vibe. I love like sitting on some sand and letting the wind go through my hair and just I'm being dramatic, but you know the vibes. You guys know the vibes. So the social life in Korea, honestly, before I went to Korea, I had Korean friends who lived in Korea, so it wasn't really that hard for me to make friends because I had friends there already. It was really easy for me actually, especially a lot of people say if you're not a student in Korea, it's harder for you to make friends. And honestly, I would understand that. Koreans are not very outgoing people unless you meet them at the club. If you're not a clubber, it's gonna be, I think, a little bit harder for you to make friends. So, and I understand that fully, but I was a student, so it was really easy for me to make friends. I was in different clubs as well. I was in a dance club and a choir club, so I just made friends with people who were in those clubs and hung out with those people. I mainly hung out with my choir friends, but it was really easy for me to make friends, especially in class. Like, I would just see other international students and talk with them. Like, it was really easy for me to make friends. My MBTI is ENTJ, which is, I'm an extroverted person, so it's really easy for me to make friends. Do I believe I'm an E, truly? No. But in Korea, I was an E. So it was really easy for me to make friends, like really, really easy. The nightlife, I think I touched on it a little bit, but it gets crazy. I am not a big drinker. I really loved going to the clubs only because I love dancing. I love music and I love dancing, and that was my favorite part about clubbing. Not the clubs, not the men. It was only dancing with my friends. And then I'll get into the dating of it all. I did not have a good experience. I will be honest with you. I got essayed by men. I got some more traumatic things happened to me from men in Korea, which I won't really talk about here because I don't think it's appropriate, but I will say that I met the best Korean men of my life and the worst Korean men of my life of my time in Korea. And that is just how the world works. You're gonna find the best people ever in a place and the worst people ever in a place. I will say dating is hard. Dating is hard when you look like me, but I also was just looking in the wrong places. And I'm a Christian, so I was like, it's hard to find obviously other Christians in a Korean club. So that's crazy for me to even think that I could find that. But yeah, I was trying to date in the wrong places. But I mean, I went to church in Korea and I wasn't gonna try to get a boyfriend at church. So I was just, and none of the Korean guys are also really, really shy. So like, if you want a man to come up to you, you can only find that in the clubs. Because I would never go up to a man. So it was hard for me to date someone like a student because they were never coming up to me. And I tried the Tinders and I tried I think it was Hinge or whatever, the other Bumbles or whatever. I tried the dating apps. Those suck. Those are not good. If you want to date someone in Korea, I have no good advice for you. I have no good advice to dating in Korea because I did not have a good time and I did not leave with a boyfriend. But my roommate did, so maybe you guys can hit her up. I think maybe the friend of a friend is probably the best route you could do because I did not get lucky. Yeah. Okay, challenges and lessons learned from Korea. I got really homesick by the end. I was really ready to go home by the end of my trip there. Financially, I was fine the entire time. I got a scholarship, so I was fine. I will say that Korea has built me for sure, like has built my personality more. I went through some things while I was there. I met so many different kinds of people, so it really helped me build me to who I am today. That sounds crazy, but it's just the truth. I am definitely a different person now than I was before Korea, 1,000,000%. Not hugely, but like I think that, especially the way my brain works now, I think that like it's just the way the cookie crumbled. And yeah. Final thoughts about Korea. Honestly, if I had to give my entire time a rating out of 10, I would give it an 8.5. I think 8.5 is like, it's solid. It's high, but it's not too high. It's perfect, an 8.5. But I would say my college was 10 out of 10. Everything college related was 10 out of 10, but if I put my college plus my daily life plus the whole shebang, would be 8.5. My favorite memory in Korea is any memory with my choir and any memory at my church that I went to. Really shout out to New Seoul. I love that church so much. I met the sweetest people ever there, and honestly, like, it was so good to go there, especially like, I feel like at some point while I was in Korea, I really felt like I was going through it and I was at a really low place, and I went to church and like, it just, like, I feel like the world like changed. So that was just, yeah. I don't know, I'm gonna start crying. That's crazy. I'm not gonna cry on camera. That's crazy. Anyways, would I recommend studying abroad in Korea? Yes, of course, please do. If you get the options to study abroad anywhere, go. Korea especially, like, I think it was such a good time. I had such a good time there. I met so many nice people. So the next steps. I am in my hometown now. I'm not in Korea anymore. I did change my major while I was there. Yeah, I was accounting in Korea. Now my major is international business with Korean focus. So that's some things that have changed since being there. It really changed me, clearly. I changed my major so I could focus on Korean, but would I live in Korea? I'm unsure at the moment. I probably will at some point because, I mean, I'm learning Korean and I'm still, my focus and my major is in Korean, so I totally would live there, obviously. But do I want to do that forever? Definitely not. I don't even think once I graduate I will go straight to Korea. I don't think so. So I think I will go back eventually at some time in my life, but it's not a big priority for me anymore because I've already been there and I've lived there. So I am kind of just like wanting to move past it. But you know, Korea is a really good place. It's an amazing place. I really hope that I didn't say anything too negative to dissuade you from going. One last thing I will say is that my English got the worst of the worst living in Korea. I literally like lived there for about 5 or 6 months and my English went down. Like, my Korean wasn't even getting any better. My English was just getting worse. And I don't even know how that happens or how that works. Maybe you guys know the science on that, but I don't know the science. And I came back and I like forgot words and yeah. Anyways, that's why sometimes in this video there's a lot of cuts, because I am probably like thinking about a word or something. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys have any questions, please ask me. Yeah, I loved Korea and I loved everything about it, and I do plan on going back in the future. Please just text me and let me know. If you plan on going to Korea, you can ask me anything, especially as a Black woman myself. If you're Black and you want to go, that sounded weird. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, please subscribe, please follow me on everything at Briasia. Just look at my name, Briasia.Bell on Instagram. Bye. Thank you guys so much. Annyeong.